Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I didn't do any videos over the weekend because I didn't want to. So here we are. Today, I'm back at school, so we'll be using our school Bible. This is the New Oxford Annotated, um, and it's day 8 or 9, but we're doing Psalm 6 because I skipped this weekend. So we're going to jump right in. To the leader with stringed instruments, according to the, I don't know how to pronounce that word, Sheminth, a psalm of David. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, or discipline me in your wrath. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am languishing. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are shaking with terror. My soul also is struck with terror. While you, O Lord, how long? Turn, O Lord, save my life. Deliver me for the sake of your steadfast love. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, who will give you praise? I am weary with my moaning. Every night I flood my bed with tears. I drench my couch with my weeping. My eyes waste away because of grief. They grow weak because of all my foes. Depart from me, all you workers of evil, for the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies shall be ashamed and struck with terror. They shall turn back and in a moment be put to shame. Okay. If you're hearing background noise, it's construction. I'm at the library, so this is what it is. The thing that's sticking out to me right now about this psalm, it's, a psalm of triumph, that it's a descent and then an ascent. And then if you're remembering that this psalm would have been read in community, especially like if people were going through a time of grief, like as a group, or if one member of the community was going through a time of grief in their family, they would have been singing it through, like, with their community, with this understanding that that the lament was something to be held together. And so it wouldn't have just been one person, even if one singular person was going through something specific, that burden was still going to be shared throughout the entire community. But the word I really want to focus on in this psalm is anger. A lot of people are really uncomfortable with anger. I think I talked about this a little bit in my last video, because people are generally not taught how to manage their anger, and how to differentiate between healthy anger and unhealthy anger, and that when expressing anger is appropriate, when it's better to sit on it, like, because it's such a base human emotion, but it's kind of seen as inappropriate, or it's not, because so many people misuse their anger, that it kind of gets a bad rap, and how good and healthy anger is. And I think if you can't imagine or tolerate the idea of God being angry at you, I'm assuming that you probably can't tolerate or integrate the idea of other people being angry at you either. And that you can't probably swallow your own anger either, or that you're so used to swallowing your own anger that you're not comfortable or good at expressing your own anger. And you definitely probably don't know how to use your own anger as a way to create intimacy with others. And so what I love about this psalm is its understanding that God can and will be angry, and that if you are truly in a relationship where it's a two-way relationship, when you have complaints and you have anger and you have, like, difficult or potentially negative feeling emotion, you can take that to God. But also when God has those things, like God has those same feelings in return, you have to be able to receive that. And I think the idea of that is so shaming and, like, scary, that a lot of people have this either, when they're thinking about God, it needs to be this, like, all loving all the time, like, magical butler that just loves you and thinks you're perfect. And that's true. And, like, there definitely are those aspects of the divine where it's just, like, such extraordinary love that you could never even imagine it being different. But I think part of understanding that real love and real intimacy includes conflict, and that goes both ways. That goes for two sides. And so God is allowed to be disappointed and uncomfortable and unhappy with your behavior when you are, and, like, the divine is allowed to disagree with how you're acting, especially when you've when you're turning in and creating separation between the two of you. So part of working with anger and being able to tolerate your window of tolerance for anger is starting to get really comfortable with your own anger and the things that make you feel angry, because it has a place in your life, and a really good place in your life, because it tells you when a boundary's been crossed, and it tells you how you really feel. There's an honesty and a rawness to anger that is so nourishing, and it will provide you with the base fire that you need for growth, because that, growth requires a level of aggression, and a lot of people are really uncomfortable with that, especially a lot of women. So I encourage people to really work with their anger and look at it and like get into it and dig into it, and like, what does it look like, and what does it sound like, and what does it feel like? And no matter how ugly, no matter how much profanity, no matter how prideful, no matter what's there, like really get in there, and maybe just even starting to journal about it. Like, what makes me angry? What are the things that make me angry? And starting to play with that a little bit, because you start to understand who you actually are and how you actually feel about things, not just like what you've been taught to think or what you've been conditioned to think. You start to really understand, like, where are my actual boundaries around this? What are my actual thoughts and feelings about this? Because there's a rawness to anger that requires you to be in alignment with yourself. It kind of just like gets and I think a lot of people who are parents can understand this, that you can be lovingly angry with somebody, and you can be lovingly angry with yourself, and you can be lovingly angry with God, and God can be lovingly angry with you. So, but the ability to physically tolerate that emotion is not something that's taught much. So that's something that I just wanted to bring up today as we are going into the fiery season of winter. And the construction is getting really loud, so I'm going to log off, but I'll see you guys later.